Thank you for listening to this episode of Changes Big and Small. This is your host, Damian. Changes Big and Small will help you take action in your life with intention and purpose. In each episode, I invite you to accept unexpected challenges that will help you make progress to live the life that you want. Why is it so hard to make deep, meaningful relationships as an adult? Kristen KB Newton has asked this question 100 times over. And after building her most recent company, Convos, she has discovered the secret to deep, meaningful relationships as an adult and is eager to share it with you. This is part 2 of our conversation. In part 1, we talked about the 5 I's of connection and the 4 types of friendship. But some of our conversation went into different types of relationships and even about business. It's fascinating how KB applies many of the same principles of relationships in how she runs her business. And I think it would be interesting for listeners, even if you don't have a business, the big takeaway here for me is that the skills that we learn in one area transfer to so many other areas of our lives. And so, as KB said, if you could really improve and tune in on getting the connection piece right, then that has ripple effects elsewhere in your life. Listening to hear a bit more about KB's work, and you must keep listening to hear what is the single motivator for everyone and how you can use that to do the things that you want to do in your life.
I do have courses, I do have an app, I do have resources that people can go through on their own. But what I've found effective in the lives of the people that I help is when I'm able to walk alongside of them. I talk about the difference between something called witness and witness theory. And so witness theory is I'm watching you do something, I'm watching a course, right? I'm looking at a training or a webinar and I'm listening to you tell me this is what I need to do and how I need to do it or whatever. But there's a picture of witness that I think we see as a Christian in the scriptures where Jesus invited people to walk with him in order to see patterns, characteristics about his life. And even if you don't believe what I believe or whatever, just even for story's sake, you think about people who have mentored or led or guided great movements. It's not because we're all talking about it. They're saying, come with me and do this thing. And so I realized that there are not a lot of spaces and communities for people to do the work of navigating relationships, having the heart conversation, having accountability to see yourself and to be honest about what's happening with you. And so I wanted to create that space. So I've actually not been in the habit of creating more courses and more content because although those things are good, they don't always move people to action. But what moves people to action is calling them into a community, telling them to make an investment, like invest in yourself in this way, join our community and watch what happens over the next 6 months to a year. And so I have lots of I have 2 coaching programs. I have a high level coaching program, a lower ticket coaching program, where I essentially give people the opportunity to walk alongside of me. And so what I've done is I've created some spaces to just invite people to walk alongside me in community with other people. And what we do is we meet about 2 or 3 times a month, once a week. And in that space, we talk about whatever the focus is that day, but there's accountability. People are like, this is what I'm seeing in my own life. For example, this most recent meeting we had, we talked about the power of the North Star. North Star is something that I teach where I'm like, hey, if you don't have a North Star, a thing that is guiding you in every decision that you make in life, and not just your faith or what you believe, but really like the thing that is what you would do for free, what you might pay somebody to do for the rest of your life, because it is what creates a life for you. You're like, if I'm not doing this thing, life is not worth living. We help people discover that. And then we're like, well, how is that looking in your life? Does your job align with your North Star? Do your relationships align with your North Star? Does your behavior align with your North Star? Whatever that is. And because I believe that attachment research tells us that the difference between people who have deep, meaningful, healthy, long-lasting, life-giving attachments, the difference between those people and people who don't have that are that one individual has made the decision to know themselves fully, to attach healthily with themselves. You cannot attach healthily with another and to another individual if you are not aware or attached healthy with yourself. So I have a coaching program that's a shorter coaching program called the Primary Connection Coaching Program. Where in that space, all we do is help people align within themselves. But once they've done that work, then they get to kind of graduate into what I have called connection mastery coaching, where it's like we master connection in this space. not just as an individual in your friendships, but in your marriages, in every relationship you come in contact with, how you show up at work, how you lead your teams, how you build your ministry, or walk in integrity at your job. It impacts every part of your life. And so the work has evolved from courses and things that people can do to kind of just teach them basic things to now just inviting people into a community. I honestly believe when you're thrown in there just to do the work, you either do it or you don't. But because the coaching programs are higher ticket coaching programs, people who are making those investments don't gloss over the opportunity to show up, because like, listen, I paid for this. And I tell people all the time, that's the reason why I charge quite a bit for my coaching spaces, because I'll give you everything else for free. We can get on a podcast, it's free. You can go on the internet. There's like almost 1,000 pieces of content on the internet, things that I've done, TED Talks, interviews, articles, all the things. I'll give you whatever you want information wise for free. But when a person is ready to like, I want to live this, I want to become the person I need to become in order to have this bear fruit in my life, I'm like, okay, make the investment, come into this community and watch it change for the rest of your life. So that's kind of how the content has evolved and how I approach my work now.
What's the best place for people to go to find out more about your work and if they're interested in working with you?
Yeah, this is probably the time where I should have like a perfect link set up for people and be like, hey, go to this link and you can fill out this application. And again, some of my work is like that. But if a person listened to this, episode was like, hey, I want to walk with you, I want to align with your work and join your community, I would say email me at kb@heartconvos.com. They can just reach out and then we can set up a call, like a 15 to 20 minute interest call, see what it is that they need. Because honestly, there are a lot of people who have coaching programs and resources for people. No shade to these people, as much as I need to know that you're good for me and I'm good for you before I say that this is a good fit. You can give me 15 grand in hand right now, right? One of my programs is a $15,000 coaching program. And if I don't feel like I can serve you based on just a couple of questions that I'll ask, I will happily give you back your money. I would hate for you to make the investment and then not reap fruit that will remain. There's a verse that I love in scripture that the Christian is called to go bear fruit that will remain. Well, the truth is fruit doesn't remain. I don't know anybody's fruit that's remain. Fruit dies within like 3 days. So I'm like, what is this fruit that will remain, this poetic language? What is all that? Because that don't even make no sense to me. So fruit that will remain, it is a special kind of fruit. It's not just this outward fruit. It's an internal fruit that remains. It's consistent. Money comes, money goes. But if you make an investment, you want to see the fruit from that investment. And so I need to ask a couple of questions first, see where the person is and what they're looking for. I might be a good next step for them based on where they are in their journey, or I might not be the next step yet, or I just might not be a good fit altogether. Mm-hmm. And so I can't always tell that from an application, which is why I'm not always quick to be like, yeah, just go fill out these questions and I'll know.
You're working in the relationship space. And so that definitely is in integrity, right?
You see that? And listen, this is so funny. I have people that I coach in business, which is another separate arm. I do so much. It's a mess. But we're raising up coaches now, which is really exciting. But in the coaching space, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I literally have built my business around how I live my life. If the two were different, if I had a different standard for how I lived when I wasn't doing business, in the standard that I did business by was different, I would literally be divided within myself. I wouldn't be able to stand. It's like a house divided within itself will fall. I can't act like something matters over here and doesn't matter over here. And so I literally build my business like I tell people to build their relationships. I'll just give you all the sauce. Here's some tips for how you can build your business. You have strangers, right? People that you don't know, your client, you don't have clients yet, right? You don't have customers yet. What do you need to get customers? You need to give them information. Let them know that you have something that they need. When you let them know that you have something that they need, they then can gather as much information, whether it be a lead generator or free content or your social media page or your podcast, like, oh, we really like them. Okay, we love it. Okay, I feel comfortable enough investing, whatever that investment might be. I am comfortable investing in giving you my email for this free download. I'm comfortable buying your $27 thing. Oh, I'm comfortable buying your $2,000 course, whatever it might be. You have to provide enough information for somebody to feel comfortable to invest, and then you have to deliver. You can't just sell somebody something and then it be garbage. So then they got to get in there and they got to get a return on in the investment, right? They got to garner that interest. Once they've garnered that interest, if you continue to really help people, like showing people you can help them by really helping them, people will not just love the work that you do, but they will like you. They will attach to you. And that's where that intent comes. I have people right now in my space who literally have bought every single thing I've ever created and are waiting for me to create something else so they can just buy it. I actually have an event coming up Labor Day weekend. This is actually the first place I've actually said it out loud. We have a teaser and a trailer and all that stuff coming out this week. And the event is Labor Day weekend, September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And people are like, hurry up and put the tickets on sale so I can buy the next thing. And I just think it's so funny that, again, that's how it also works in your relationships. Like when you're doing the things that I've kind of been talking about, people are lining up to do life with you versus the people who are asking, you know, like, how do you make friends without work? Can you find, like, people will be attracted to you if you just do these things. If you plant these seeds, you will bear this fruit, and you will attract the people who like to eat that fruit. But if you're planting seeds of pettiness or planting seeds of isolation or cancel culture or whatever,
pretend disinterest.
Right. Pretending, right.
Which is what a lot of people do when they say they want relationships, but they pretend they don't care about relationships.
Or the other side, people who are acting like they care more about the relationship than they do. Then they attract people who are acting like they care more about the relationship than they do. And then they're mad because they actually really like that person that time. So yeah, you attracted somebody with the seeds that you were planting. That's just farmer's law. You reap what you sow. But the other thing is that you don't just reap what you sow, you reap more than you sow, always. I don't know anybody who ever planted a seed and got one thing back. Like you don't plant an apple seed and get one apple. So you've planted that seed, you reap what you sow, you reap more than you sow. But the third piece is that you always reap later than what you sow. So we can sometimes deceive ourselves into thinking that, oh, this decision I'm making today doesn't matter because I don't see an immediate fruit from it. And it's like, no. It will come back to you. This is encouragement. Listen, if you don't like the way that your life looks, your relationship looks, your business looks, whatever, any area of your life, right? Your mindset, anything, then this is what I would encourage you to do. I would encourage you to start planting different seeds. And the way that you can do that is find a coach, a mentor, a top layer, somebody who is smarter than you, has done more than you, is further along than you on the journey. Pay them as much as they charge and do exactly everything they say. That's what I would encourage you to do.
Like that's the key. Do everything they say.
Exactly. Like pay whatever it is and do whatever they say. Now, if they're a good coach, then whatever they tell you to do isn't going to make sense to you. Because if it made sense to you, you'd already be doing it. So if you're being coached by somebody who's telling you everything you want to hear, I'd fire them immediately. Because coaches, leaders, mentors don't just pat us. They challenge us. They push us. They stretch us. They tell us to do one more set when we feel like we're about to collapse. They say you can walk one more step when you feel like you're about to faint. That's what the coach does. That's what I do. If you're looking for somebody, like you just need a friend and a buddy, me and KB can be friends. I'm like, no. You don't want to pay me $15,000 to do that. We can just talk on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Like just DM me. And if I get to it, I'll get to it. But if you really are like, no, I need someone who's going to help me get unstuck, who's going to get me out of the rut that I'm in, is going to move me to the next level of my life. And it don't have to be me. Find somebody who's doing whatever it is that you want and pay that person however much they charge and do whatever they say.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just interviewing somebody else earlier this week. He was talking about he used to mentor people and he doesn't do it anymore because they just didn't do what he said. And so it was frustrating for him and it was frustrating for them because they didn't get results and he felt like he was wasting his time. So what you're saying really resonates. And I think that's key for people. I've spent money, for example, at different things where I did not do the course or I did not do the activity. Mm-hmm. And guess what? I'm no smarter.
You did not get the results.
Exactly. But in the things where I did spend money, or even sometimes there were free things where I actually did the work, I can see, oh, wow, I didn't know I was capable of that. Look at what I did here. And it's really because I trusted somebody else to help me build that vision that I didn't yet know was even possible.
Yeah, my coach says this all the time. My coach, his name is Myron Golden. He teaches wealth principles, and he says all the time that, people do things for one reason and one reason only. We are singularly motivated people. And I'm like, okay, well, what is that? He's like, we do things because we feel like it. Period. So the reason why we don't do the work is because we don't feel like it. But something else he always says is, he says, the heart is what follows the pocketbook. He told me when he first started working with me, Kristen, you are doing people a disservice not to charge them a lot of money to work with you, which sounds arrogant and ridiculous. However, I have spent enough years doing what maybe this gentleman you spoke with does, and that is helping a lot of people and not asking them to invest, which is a one-sided relationship. If we're going back to the 5 levels of connection, you're asking for a return on something that you didn't actually make an investment for. And we know that the investment should match the risk reward thing. It's kind of like you take a little bit of risk, you probably get a little bit of reward, but the greater the risk, the greater the reward. And so that's why for me, I'm just like, hey, you want just conversation, know-how tips, tricks, whatever. That stuff is free. There's so much content online you can get for free. I'm not holding anything back. I'm going to give you as much gold as I possibly can. I also know that even though I'm giving you a wealth of knowledge, unless you know how and what to do with this, it's not going to bear the fruit in your life necessarily that you might want to see. So you might just need some help. Then I'm like, well, hey, when you're ready to do that, you have to invest because your heart will follow your pocketbook. But the stuff that doesn't cost you anything, you don't care nothing about. But just think about the things that you've worked for in life. You saved up for that thing. You were like, you know what? I want that thing. I'm going to work for it. I'm going to save up. I'm going to put money aside. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it. You value it more. You cherish it more. Same thing with the relationships. I worked for her love. I worked for his respect. I worked for whatever. Like you cherish it more when you get it. Whereas the thing that don't cost you nothing, it's like it's not going to cost you to lose it. That's why people walk away from their relationship so easily. And people will also walk away from a course and content. And so if I was coaching that gentleman, I would say raise your prices. Really, mentoring is different from coaching, but if you're coaching people and you're a coach and you realize your people aren't doing the work, it didn't cost them enough to get in the space.
I get that. I mean, I want to learn Portuguese and I figured that I would buy an app because that would help motivate me. I don't want to waste my money. Mm-hmm. And I bought the app maybe 3 months ago. And how many times have I opened it? Once.
How much did the app cost?
$130 or something like that.
Okay. So you say, all right, I want to learn a new language. The thing about learning a new language, especially as an adult, it's a little harder to learn. We kind of already have our thing going. That kind of thing, I think, would cost more. Or there would have to be a circumstance in your life that was relying on you. And this is also the motivation, because money is not always the motivation. Right? Sometimes it has to, again, you're like, if I don't learn Portuguese, I'm not going to survive in this country. So this is someone who just got dropped in Portugal. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I have to learn the language. I'm here for the next 6 months. Guess what you're going to do? Figure it out every day. You didn't pay a dime. Like, you're just there. But because it's your livelihood is depending on it, you're like, if I don't figure this out, I'm not going to be able to thrive here. And again, that's the thing. People, they want to thrive. They want to survive. But they also have to feel like surviving and feel like thriving to do the work.
I think that will definitely resonate with people, because watching one more episode of Netflix when you could be working out, going for a walk, everything else, you're doing it because you want to do it more than you want to do anything else right now.
And that's a whole nother conversation about your subconscious mind and your conscious mind. When people ask themselves like, man, why do I get stuck in the worm? And we all do it. We get stuck in the wormhole of swiping up. We thought it was going to be one video, and then that led you to 17 other videos. And then you go back and you're like, how did I even get here? Right? Same thing. I'm just going to watch this one episode. 6 episodes later that were 45 minutes long each. You're like, what happened? It's because you were programmed to do that. I'll just say this last thing, because again, now the conversation has turned from friendship to business. It all has everything to do with connection.
I'm going to name this episode Why You Need a Coach.
Why you need a coach, right? Listen, I'm telling you, if you think about why people fail and succeed, I've learned through several books that I've read through my coaches that people who succeed are not trying to succeed any more than people who fail are not trying to fail. Neither one of them is trying to fail or succeed. They just are failing or they are succeeding. And the question is, how is that happening? It's because their mind is programmed to fail or their mind is programmed to succeed. And so the question then becomes, well, how the heck do you program your mind to succeed? Great question. That's where you have to do your own work. And one, just figure out what your brain is already programmed to do, which again, in the spaces that I'm in, people can discover that stuff. And then from there, you're like, okay, well, what would it take to succeed? Then you figure that out. But guess what? That's not even the work. The work isn't discovering what it takes to succeed. It's now figuring out, how do I make that something that I do unconsciously every day? We unconsciously open our phones, get on social media and start swiping. We unconsciously fall into the bed and unconsciously get on Netflix. Whereas to go to the gym, we have to absolutely plan it. We have to put on several alarms. We have to get some accountability because it's not automatic. So you have to get to a place where the things that you want in life become automatic for you. Like, this is what I do automatically. I go to the gym because it's just a part of how I live. It's part of how I breathe. But there are specific things that have to be in place in your life, in your mind, in your speech, in the way that you think and what you say, that feed into your subconscious mind and help to change your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind has been there your whole life. And it was shaped mainly when you were younger. Now, as an adult, changing your subconscious mind is almost like trying to learn another language. Again, either a circumstance is going to make this like, or something in your life is going to push you to that point. For some people, it doesn't. They just kind of hit where they hit, they settle, and then that's it. So that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But again, if a person is interested in like, hey, I got to connect to this girl, I want to walk with her, I want to be in her space so that I can just learn how to communicate and connect at the highest levels in my relationships, in my business, in all these other areas, then again, just email me at kb@heartconvos.com. Like, hey, I heard you on the podcast. I want to be a part of your coaching program, and we'll see what we can do.
I noticed that in a lot of your work, you talk about frameworks, that people need frameworks. And I'm thinking as you're talking that part of the reason that frameworks are so important is because they help us interrogate and change some of those unconscious habits.
Look at you. You got it. You on it. You on it. Look at you putting the pieces together. Yep.
The 4 types of friendship is already an example of a framework, but we did not get more into this conversation because our time was up for the interview. As KB said, she has lots of great material online, and so I hope that you will go and explore and learn about her work and how to have stronger or even a variety of different types of connections to meet your needs in your life. If you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please leave a 5-star review in Spotify or in iTunes. Would you reach out to me with any questions that you have? You can do so at contact@changesbigandsmall.com. Remember, change begins with one small step. Have a great week.